you are not just in middle school or just in high school or just in college, and you don't just work at a school. You're not just an administrator, just a staff person, just a teacher. And those of us outside of that system who are stakeholders, we're not just onlookers. But where you sit, where you stand, has a larger implication than that particular day. But it really impacts the rest of your life. So whether you're in middle school, elementary school, or high school, know that it's more than just that moment. But what you are doing will have repercussion, consequences for the rest of your life, because you're really building a life. You're not learning how to make a living. Anybody can do that. But you're learning how to build a life, and whatever goes on in that room will have implications for the rest of your life. And those of us who work with them, our parents and teachers and who support them, we need to understand that too. It's not just about one test. It's not just about one assignment. It's not just about missing one day or 5 days, but it's about the rest of their lives. And college students, the same thing applies. It's not just one moment in time. I'm going to have me a good time. I won't be in college but one time, and I'm going to party and do all I want to do. It's bigger than a party. It's bigger than that one moment in time, but it will impact the rest of your life. And so when I talk about big picture, I'm talking about opening your eyes and seeing just what it means to be a student, just what it means to have the privilege of getting an education, as a parent to see what it means to be involved and to push my child, as a church to see what it means to partner with families, as a community to see what it means to invest in our children, even as a country to see what it means to invest in our country. Open your eyes. And I got some naysayers, maybe not in here, but they'll hear me on the radio, television, somewhere. So let me just make this real plain. The Bible teaches that we live in two worlds. If you are a Christian, you are a citizen of two kingdoms. You are a citizen of the kingdom of God. And I want to be perfectly clear. A high school diploma, a college degree, training beyond that, a skill is not required for participation in the kingdom of God. Salvation is. And salvation is not tied to any kind of school training. However, we also live in the kingdom of this world. And if you are going to participate fully in this world, you need an education. And at a minimum, you gotta have a high school diploma. And so there are no dropouts in Mount Zion. We drop in, but we don't drop out. And so at a minimum, and then beyond that, we've gotta have that. And if you wanna participate, you gotta do that. And I say that because the church sends a double message. We say to our children, on the one hand, go to school and get training. And then on the other hand, we'll stand behind the pulpit as preachers. We will stand as deacons, as choir members, and say, well, I'm so glad I got my BA. I've been born again. I don't need that other BA. Who you fooling? You do need the first one to be born again. But to imply that you don't need an education is false teaching. And in fact, salvation, if you are a believer, ought to make the education more productive. Because as a citizen of the kingdom of heaven, the principles and laws of that kingdom supersede the laws of this world. And if you operate on kingdom principles, as you get your education, use your education, you will go much further than the person who's not in the kingdom of heaven, because you got the King of Kings on your side. And so please understand that it is critical. And now this particular passage that I just read from teaches us something that I want to leave with every child, every parent, every stakeholder present today. Says that you are the light of the world. So the first thing I want to suggest to you is that when we all of us go back to school, and my children are through with school, but I'm going back too because I got a stake in every child that's in there. So when and you ought to feel the same way, whether you got them in there or not. So when we go to school, we need to remember who we are. It is bigger than just being Daniel Simmons or Willie Jones or whatever your name may happen to be. It's bigger than that. If you are a child of God, first and foremost, above everything else, you are a Christian. And as a Christian, even in school, you represent your Christ. And you got to remember that you are a child of the King, a child of God, not a child of this world, but you are a Christian. And then when you look at the big picture, the fact that you are a Christian, then that means you got some other obligations in terms of your identity. If I am a Christian, then the principles of my faith teach that I am connected to and have an obligation to honor my parents. And so I represent Christ. That's who I am. I'm a Christian, but I also represent my parents, and I want to honor them. My daddy used to say to us when we were younger, as we went out, he said, don't forget who you are. Don't forget you represent me. And he even told us when we start driving, there are some places you can't take my car. Because when folks see my car parked at that place, they assume that me or somebody connected with me at that place. So don't take my car to that place. And I need to tell you that until the Lord, changed me, I just parked the car at my friend's house and walked to the place. Because even in my wrong, I didn't want to dishonor my daddy. So you represent him, you represent your family, you represent the church. That's Mount Zion's member. And so whatever you do throws back on the church, it throws back on your parents, and it throws back to your Christ. And then it's a reflection of you. You. And when he calls you light, he's identifying the fact that you are different. And it's okay to be different. You're not a part of this world, even though you live in it physically. Spiritually and physically, you're in another kingdom. And that spiritual part makes you distinctly different. And so remember, you're light. You're special. You're special. And so when you look in the mirror, when you're getting dressed tomorrow, remember, it's more than the clothes. And I know some of your parents, maxed out the credit card, borrowed some money, and they got you dressing real good, but it's bigger than polo. It's bigger than whatever designer you wear. It's bigger than where your clothes hit you. But remember who you are, and don't let anybody take that from you. All right?